Hi, I'm Irene. 6 months after my divorce, I was finally getting my life back together. My ex-husband had taken enough from me, my trust, my savings, my confidence, but I wasn't going to let him take my spirit. I went back to work at the marketing firm downtown, and every morning, I walked the same route from the parking garage to my office. And every single morning, I passed her. The old woman sat on the same bench near the fountain, wrapped in layers of worn clothing, holding a cardboard sign that read, "Hungry, anything helps, God bless." Her face was weathered, her eyes tired. I'd see her shivering in the cold, and each day I'd feel that pang of guilt as I hurried past. But that Tuesday morning, something made me stop. "Excuse me," I said, approaching her bench. "Have you eaten today?" She looked up at me with watery blue eyes. "Oh, sweetheart, you don't need to worry about me." "I'm worried," I said. "Please, let me buy you breakfast. There's a cafe right across the street." Her face crumpled with emotion. "You're an angel, a real angel. I'm Margaret." "Irene," I said, helping her to her feet. "Come on, let's get you something warm." Over coffee and breakfast sandwiches, Margaret told me her story. Her husband had died 3 years ago. Her pension wasn't enough, and her daughter was struggling to make ends meet herself. "Lisa tries her best," Margaret said, dabbing at her eyes with a napkin. "She works 2 jobs, but her ex-husband left her with all the debt. She can barely afford her own rent, let alone help me." "That's awful," I said, my heart aching. "I understand difficult exes. Mine left me in a similar situation." "You're divorced too?" Margaret reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "Then you know. You know how hard it is to rebuild." "I do," I said. "Listen, I have an idea. I have a guest room that's just sitting empty. Why don't you stay with me for a while, just until you get back on your feet?" "Oh, I couldn't possibly." "Please," I insisted. "I'd love the company, honestly. The house feels too big and empty since my ex moved out." Margaret's eyes filled with tears. "You're truly a blessing. Are you sure?" "I'm sure." That weekend, I helped Margaret move her few belongings into my guest room. That's when I met Lisa. "Mom's told me so much about you," Lisa said, embracing me warmly. She was in her early 40s, with tired eyes but a bright smile. "I can't thank you enough for helping her. I've been so worried, but I just couldn't afford to take her in." "It's my pleasure," I said. "Your mom is wonderful company." Over the next few weeks, Lisa became a regular visitor. She'd come over for dinner, and the three of us would laugh and share stories. She told me about her teenage son, Jake, and how she was saving for his college fund. I found myself opening up about my divorce, my struggles, even my finances. "You're so strong," Lisa said one evening as we cleaned up after dinner. "Honestly, Irene, you're an inspiration. After everything you've been through, you still have such a big heart." "I'm just trying to do the right thing," I said. "Well, you're amazing," she said, hugging me. "We're so lucky to have you in our lives." 3 months into the arrangement, I came home early from work one afternoon. I'd forgotten an important file. As I walked in through the front door, I heard voices upstairs. "Exactly how much?" That was Lisa's voice. She said around 70,000 in her savings, plus the house is paid off. Margaret's voice. I froze at the bottom of the stairs. "Perfect," Lisa said. "And she trusts you completely?" "Like I'm her own mother," Margaret laughed. "The divorce really did a number on her. She's desperate for family." "Good. Then we stick to the plan. You get her to add your name to the bank accounts. I'll work on the house deed. She'll never see it coming." My blood ran cold. I backed out of the house silently and sat in my car, my hands shaking on the steering wheel. I'd been such a fool. I grabbed my phone and called my best friend, Rachel. "Rachel, I need you to come over. Now." "What's wrong? You sound terrible." "I'll explain when you get here. Just come. Park down the street and text me." 20 minutes later, I met Rachel at the corner. In hushed, frantic whispers, I told her everything I'd overheard. "Those absolute—" Rachel caught herself. Okay, we need to think clearly. Have you signed anything?" "No, thank God. Margaret's been hinting about the bank accounts, saying it would make things easier if she could help pay bills. But I kept putting it off." Smart. What about your documents? Passwords? My stomach dropped. My laptop. I use it for everything. Banking, work, all my passwords are saved. Does she have access to it? It's in my bedroom. I never lock my door. Rachel, what if… First things first, Rachel interrupted. We need to check your accounts right now. Then we're calling the police. We went to Rachel's car and I logged into my banking app. Everything was still there, untouched, for now. We need evidence, Rachel said. What you overheard might not be enough. Then I'll get it, I said, feeling anger replace my shock. I'll record them. The next day, I pretended everything was normal. I went to work, came home, smiled at Margaret. That evening, Lisa came over for dinner as usual. Irene, honey, Margaret said as we ate. I've been thinking, you're so busy with work and I'm here all day anyway. It would be easier if I could access your checking account to pay the utilities and order groceries online. What do you think? That's really thoughtful, I said, my phone recording in my pocket. But I'm not sure I understand. Why would you need full access? Lisa jumped in smoothly. Mom just wants to help, Irene. You've been so generous with us. Let us take some of the burden off your shoulders. I appreciate that, but unless you don't trust us? Margaret's voice suddenly had an edge. It's not about trust. Because after everything we've shared, Lisa said, her eyes hardening. After Mom has been living under your roof, cooking your meals, keeping you company. I know, and I'm grateful. Then show it, Margaret snapped. Stop treating us like we're trying to take advantage of you. I stared at them, watching their masks slip. Is that what you think? That I'm ungrateful? We're just saying, Lisa said, softening her tone, that real family helps each other. Don't you want us to be family? Real family doesn't con each other, I said quietly. The room went silent. Margaret's face went pale. What did you say? I heard you, last week. I came home early and heard everything. Lisa stood up abruptly. You're crazy. You didn't hear anything. I heard you planning to steal my savings, to forge my name on the house deed. That's insane, Margaret said, but her voice was shaking. Irene, sweetheart, you must have misunderstood. Don't, I said sharply. Don't call me sweetheart. I know exactly what I heard. Prove it, Lisa said, crossing her arms. You can't prove anything. I pulled out my phone and played the recording from that evening, their own voices discussing bank accounts and house deeds. Lisa's face went white. Margaret started crying. Please, Margaret sobbed. Please, Irene, we can explain. Explain what? How you targeted me? How you prey on divorced women? We were desperate, Lisa said. My son needs… I don't care what you need. Get out of my house, both of you, now. You're making a huge mistake, Lisa said, her voice turning cold. A huge mistake. Is that a threat? I asked, my phone still recording. It's a warning, Lisa said, stepping closer. You're going to regret this. The only thing I regret is letting you into my life, I said. You have 10 minutes to pack your things, Margaret, or I'm calling the police. Fine, Margaret said, dropping the helpless act entirely. Her voice was sharp now, calculating. But you're not as smart as you think you are, Irene. We've done this before. You can't prove anything. I have recordings. I have you on tape discussing fraud. So what? Lisa laughed bitterly. We didn't actually do anything. We talked. That's not illegal. But attempted fraud is, and I'm betting I'm not your first victim. Margaret's face twitched. Get your things, Lisa. Let's go. No, Lisa said, her voice rising. No, I'm not leaving until she understands that if she goes to the police, we'll make her life hell. We know where she works. We know her routines. We know everything about her. That's definitely a threat, I said. Please keep talking. You think you're so clever with your little recordings? Lisa grabbed my phone from my hand and threw it against the wall. It shattered. Now what do you have? My heart hammered, but I stood my ground. Rachel, you can come in now. My friend stepped out from the hallway, her phone held up, recording everything. Hi there, Rachel said calmly. I've been live streaming this to a cloud backup. Every word, every threat, the destruction of property, all documented. Lisa's face went from red to white. I also called the police about 5 minutes ago, Rachel continued. They should be here any moment. As if on cue, there was a knock at the door. That'll be them, I said, walking to answer it. 2 officers stood on my porch. Ma'am, we received a call about a threatening situation. Yes, officers. These 2 women have been living in my home under false pretenses. They've been planning to commit fraud, and when confronted, they made threats and destroyed my property. We have everything recorded. That's not true, Margaret shouted. She's lying! We're victims here! She invited us in and now she's trying to kick us out and frame us. Ma'am, please calm down, one officer said. Calm down? She's trying to ruin our lives because she's crazy. She's been acting paranoid for weeks. Do you have evidence of the threats and property damage? The other officer asked me. Rachel stepped forward. I have everything on video, officer, including them discussing prior fraud schemes and explicit threats made to my friend. I've also been researching. I found 3 other women in the past 2 years who filed reports about a mother-daughter team matching their descriptions. Margaret's face fell. You might want to contact Detective Morris at the fraud division, Rachel continued, showing her phone. I found his name on one of the case files. I think he'll be very interested in this. Wait, Margaret said suddenly. Wait, we can work this out. Irene, please, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. We were desperate, but we would never have actually gone through with it. You already tried, I said coldly. No, we didn't. We just talked about it. Please don't do this. Think about Jake, my grandson. He needs his mother. You should have thought about Jake before you started conning people. Please. Margaret grabbed my arm. I'm begging you. Have mercy. I pulled away. The same mercy you were going to show me when you stole everything I had left? No. You'll regret this, Lisa screamed as the officers moved to restrain her. I swear to God, you'll regret this. Ma'am, you need to stop talking, one officer warned. She's ruining our lives. Over nothing. We didn't even do anything. You destroyed her property and made multiple threats, the officer said. That's enough for us to take you in. The fraud investigation will be separate. The next few weeks were a blur of police statements and meetings with Detective Morris. Rachel had been right. Margaret and Lisa had at least 4 other victims they'd scammed over the past 3 years, all divorced or widowed women they'd identified as vulnerable and isolated. You're lucky you caught on when you did, Detective Morris told me in his office. Most victims don't realize until everything's already gone. Your friend Rachel did excellent work documenting everything. What happens now? I asked. Well, the property destruction and threats give us enough to file charges immediately. The fraud division is building a case with the other victims. With your recordings and testimony, we're looking at wire fraud, attempted fraud, conspiracy, and harassment charges. Will they go to jail? Very likely. We're talking multiple felonies across multiple victims. The DA is pushing for maximum sentences. 6 weeks later, I sat in the courtroom as Margaret and Lisa's lawyer made a plea for leniency. Your Honor, my clients deeply regret their actions. They were facing financial hardship and made poor choices. Miss Martinez herself wasn't financially harmed. That's because she caught them, the prosecutor interrupted. 4 other victims weren't so fortunate. Mrs. Chen lost her entire retirement savings. Miss Rodriguez lost her home. These weren't poor choices. They were calculated, predatory crimes targeting vulnerable women. The judge studied the case files. I've reviewed the evidence, the recordings, the testimony, the pattern of behavior. This court finds both defendants guilty on all counts. Margaret sobbed loudly. Lisa sat stone-faced. Before sentencing, the judge continued. Does the victim wish to make a statement? I stood up, my hands trembling but my voice steady. Your Honor, these women didn't just try to steal my money. They stole my trust. After my divorce, I was finally learning to believe in people again. I thought I was helping someone in need. Instead, they saw me as a mark, a target, someone whose kindness made me weak. Margaret looked at me, tears streaming down her face. Irene, please. I'm not finished, I said firmly. I want the court to know that I'm not here for revenge. I'm here because what they did was wrong, and they need to face consequences. How many other women would they have destroyed if I hadn't stopped them? After sentencing, Margaret received 4 years, Lisa received 6. They were led away. As Lisa passed, she leaned toward me. I'm sorry, she whispered. Truly, I'm sorry. Can you forgive me? I looked at her directly. No, I can't, and I won't. What you did was unforgivable. Please, she said, her voice breaking. Please, I have a son. You should have thought about him before you decided to destroy people's lives. Every choice has consequences. These are yours. Outside the courthouse, Rachel pulled me into a hug. You did it. You actually did it. We did it, I corrected. I couldn't have done this without you. So what now? She asked. How are you feeling? Honestly, lighter. I spent so long after my divorce feeling like a victim. But I'm not a victim anymore. I stood up for myself. I made sure they couldn't hurt anyone else. You're a badass is what you are. I laughed, really laughed, for the first time in months. Maybe. Or maybe I'm just someone who learned that kindness doesn't mean being a doormat. You can help people and still protect yourself. You can be compassionate and still demand accountability. So wise, Rachel teased. What are you going to do with that empty guest room now? I'm thinking of fostering a dog, I said. Dogs don't try to steal your bank account. Best idea you've had all year. As we walked to the parking lot, I felt the weight I'd been carrying finally lift. Margaret and Lisa had tried to make me a victim again, tried to use my kindness against me. But I'd refused to let them win. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away from toxic people no matter how much they beg for forgiveness. Some betrayals don't deserve second chances. And that's okay. Have you ever had someone take advantage of your kindness? How did you handle it? Drop your stories in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more real-life stories about standing up for yourself.